Hello and welcome back to Transports Fever 2, the UK modded series. Thank you very much for joining me in today's video. Last time out I was working here at Early Station, and the idea I had, this was some episodes ago, some videos ago, but I only got around to it last time, was to have a pass-through track for the freight going straight through the middle of Early Station, which is what I currently have. Now, unfortunately, this is probably not the smartest of ideas, having thought about it in hindsight, although you can see the advantages of it right now in front of you on screen. But the reason this might not be the smartest of ideas is because it is only one track. There are two directions of freight train, albeit not quite as common as the passenger trains. But I have a feeling that come 20-25 years time in the game, and perhaps 15-20 episodes, well, I'd say about 20 episodes down in this game, this might be a problem. But I suppose I'm going to find out as that time comes along. In today's video, as I said, I need to complete 2 more freight stations. So that is what I'm going to be doing. 2 more good stations in Maryport and Barnstaple. Those are the final 2. I say final 2, there is 1 more to go in Shepton Mallet, but that is going to be, I'm going to work on that in a very different fashion, and it isn't just going to be an exclusive good station. Bit of a spoiler there, if I get around to doing it. But the 2 that I'm going to be building today are dedicated goods stations. So that is what I'm going to be working on. I've already done some of the preliminary groundwork for it. In fact, I've already laid out some of the rails and location for the station. So really it's going to be more so detailing and getting things running exactly the way I want them to run. So make sure you stay tuned. Let's get started, and let's finally get the final, with an asterisk, good stations put down, built and ready to use on the map. Alright, starting off with Barnstaple, because, well, we are here, it isn't too far away. This is where I'm going to be placing the goods station. Now, you're probably looking at this and thinking, well, hang on a moment, this looks a little odd with the design. And you are right, but I'm actually considering smoothing this entire design out, this entire bridge section out, to curve a little tighter through here, and then just curve very gently out there, but I'm not entirely certain yet. However, just like the other one, and by the other one I mean the goods station that I built in, where was it? Stratford? Just like the one in Stratford, this is elevated. In fact, this is elevated even more than the one in Stratford. But that is okay. We've got this road here that is going to change, but this is where I'm considering putting the actual yard. You can see that I've added little switches and stuff down here, and I might just put a locomotive sitting right there. So that is what I'm going to get on with right now. First off, of course, I need to flatten some of this land, which does mean that this bit here is this bridge might end up changing, simply because, well, now you have this. And so this area here, this is where the station and station facilities are going to... I say that. What if it was not on this side, and what if it was on this side instead? Which may make a little bit more sense, given that that is a main road. Okay, I take that back. This is actually going back down to whatever it was, and then I'll smooth this out. There we go. I'm going to do it on this side instead. That is a little low. There we are. Okay, so this area is going to be built up, let's say up to around there. I'll probably smooth some of this off. In fact, should I have it built all the way up to this section? That might potentially be a good idea. Let's do that for now. Okay. So a little higher, but you could imagine that this is going to be some sort of, well, we'll have an interesting yard here. Then all I need to do is smooth this bit out here to ensure that this works. Not sure why this causes issues the way it does, but at least I've figured out how to smooth it. And there we go. That is now nicely smoothed out. So we have our area above the city where we will have our industrial yard. Next thing I need to do is, of course, fit said yard in. So I suppose I could put a road here, but I'm not going to. I'm just going to directly see if I can build one of those buildings of mine. So let's go ahead and... Could we use a different type this time? That would be interesting. So this would connect up approximately here. We can have a very long capacity. In fact, we could build this up a little bit more like so. Open up 2 entrances like that, close off the first one, which I cannot do. No fences. Could that work? That's a question. It makes it very, very wide, but I could turn this into a very industrial area, realistically. Or can I go back to my tried and tested one, which is this one right here with, I suppose I could do 2, town vanilla, no, town dark, town old, that is the one. I could just do it just like this, as I've been doing it for ages, and have that as the, I think I might just do that. So put that right there. I know it looks a little silly. Did I not remove the signage? There we go. I know perhaps it looks a little bit silly right now, but then from here, what I can do is we'll put in some... Let's put in some buildings. So let's have a general building just here. That kind of just works. Yes, just a small general building here. So if you're down here, you're not really... It's going to look pretty odd. But I want to ensure that this is something that looks... Oh, look, a harbour. I want to make sure that this is something that really does look the part up at the top. Two meters away from the trackside. Let's start placing a bunch of these in. 2 warehouses. See, that starts looking a little bit more realistic, perhaps we could say. It's not quite the most realistic of designs, but I'm sure I could do something along these lines there. So now when you're down here, you'll see something up there that is also shows some sort of industrial estate, and I can then place a street right here. I'll connect that up, and this is where these downhill sections are going to come in handy. So, or this is where the, downhill sections. This is where the fine control of the gradients is going to come in handy. That is not what I wanted. That will do. So instead of me just doing that, which clearly is not the best of ideas, what I'm going to do is do this. Perhaps curve it. Okay, it does not really want to curve the way I want it to curve. Let's do that. That's a little better. There we go. And connects it up right there. So that is the way up into this industrial estate. Now that opens up some possibilities for me, because I can, if I wanted to, I wonder if this will fit. May not, but I'm going to try to fit it in regardless. No, of course it doesn't. Well, it might. I can try and slot this in right over here, which I know it is not happy about, but if I slot that in right there, it's sort of out of the town, but it's still near enough that things should work. So you should be able to connect to that. Good. You need to have the only connect functions. No? Are you not? Why are you not happy about that? Is it not only connect? Both sides? Cross connection? What is wrong with this? What have I missed? Potentially that. That was it. Okay, so it's not, you are not the problem. Do not press that button. Only connect. There we go. Okay, you can now connect. That is all being watched. Good. So you go there, and then I was going to, let's say we can just have a little bit of coaling just here. Should it be required? Okay. Gasometer needs to go in. Oh no. Oh, there it is. Why did it not? Okay. I thought for a second it had disappeared. Little large. Still a little large. And I suppose I can put the gasometer... Now the gasometer could realistically be down here. That wouldn't necessarily be an issue. I'm going to do this instead. Once again, no idea why this always ends up being a problem. Let's just sort that bit out. There we go. Gasometer. Please fit in. Sure, about there looks good enough. If I can tuck you right against that. There we are. Now, you'll be able to see that from a distance, which perhaps, maybe to the residents, they're not going to be all too happy. I don't know, actually. There isn't much you could have seen. There isn't really much you could have seen. Now, what I can then do is work on building this little area up and cutting this back, blocking these roads up, which actually, having thought about it, I really should have done. That should have been all set to yes. How many of these are mine? Potentially should start turning these into mine too. Okay, just being overly cautious. Actually, this bridge needs to be mine because I do not trust the computer programming to decide, oh, I want to build out on this side. Okay, so now that I have that, I can create another. Actually, I could even have a little bridge going underneath if I really wanted to. This is doable. What I can do is I can create another, or I can flatten some of this out. So which bits are no longer required? Let's flatten this bit out. And we'll place embankments along there. Yes, we'll place embankments along here and flatten that bit out. I'll sort out the smoothing over this area shortly. In fact, let me sort that out now. There we go, and the smoothing around this area. There we go. Maybe a little bit more. Are you not there? There. This is really bad. I don't know why it just does not seem to like these corners. I'm sure I can fix that at some point, but that is looking a little bit better. It's not okay. So you've lost. What have you lost? You've lost the view of the bridge, but that's okay because you would have lost that anyway due to this new industrial yard. So there we go. So that goes there. That goes there. I can then potentially make a. There we go. Smooth that out in a similar fashion to that. Subsequently, I should probably place some roads, which will allow me to potentially have a little bit of industry right here. I have no idea whether this little bit will work. I don't think this bit will, but I'm going to see. So if I was to just do that. Okay. And I suppose a tiny amount just here. Good. Then I need to build those walls. Actually, wood embankment. No, it's just going to be wall. That's not what I was after. Wall. So, which one was it? I think it was these. Yes, I think these were the ones I was using. And it is a little tricky to do because of the nature of how this is going to end up being. I want to try to, at the very least, put up some sort of a wall like that, and potentially, I have no idea whether this is going to work out the way I want it to. Place a wall here. The problem is that it's the embankment that's the problem. So if I could get rid of the embankment, if I could get rid of this embankment and push that back, that would look so much better. That would genuinely look a lot better. But I'm going to try anyway, just as obviously a trial run for this. Now at this point, I think it's fine if the wall starts doing that, because obviously this bit is going down, so I'm not all too fussed. What I do need to do is I need to try to get this wall lined up, and then where would the next wall go? Oh, well, that's annoying. Well, for the sake of it looking alright, I guess, I'll just do this. 50 meters. And get that to line up reasonably well. Move that out a bit, move that up a bit, say place it there, and the final bit. Okay, how am I going to do this final bit? We have these. Could always use this. Yep, that could work. That could definitely work. Right. It isn't going to look perfect from all angles and all sides, but I'm going to try my level best. That looks all right. Can I then... No, not that. I cannot really push this back any further. Maybe once some buildings pop up here, it will look better. And then on this side, I'm not. That side, I'm not really fussed. It's just this bit here that I now need to work on. So I do have a 100-meter wall section, which would be perfect for this area. And as a matter of fact, I could really push this to be... If I can have that in line with this one, which that appears to be, I could do that. Oh, that is not ideal. Can I make something of that? That's the question. And also, how high up do I want it? It needs to be in line with, or at the same height as the pavement. Okay, what happens if I place that there? How does that end up looking? Not the worst. Sure, it needs a little bit of smoothing out and cleaning, but that does not look anywhere near as bad as I thought it might. And then all I need to do is try to figure out some of this. Which I think I can manage. I'm surprised I'm able to do this, but somehow I am. This isn't quite perfect. That much is for certain. But it is a lot better than perhaps I would have thought it would be. These two are really bad. Let me see if I can replace this one. And once this has been done, then I would say that yes, I'm fairly happy with how this has panned out. Is that a better option? That isn't quite straight. I'm trying to get one that's as straight. Is that this road is not? The road is not straight. Of course it isn't. Why would the road be straight? And then looking at that, we've got some issues with wall height. So I'm going to have to do something about that, because that is clearly two different wall heights. But I think I could do this to control the wall height. Something along these lines. Now, this isn't going to look, obviously this isn't going to look quite, this isn't going to look quite right at all. How am I going to do this? I could, okay, no, slight change of plan. I can do it like this. That's roughly okay. I'm going to be fixing that. All I have to do is make sure these bits are all right. That bit is okay. Now, this is where the height issue comes in. So what I'm going to do instead is I will connect this up in a way that it matches this bit like that, which I know looks a bit weird because it's floating. Then I'm going to delete that and match this to that height. Then from there, what I can do is I can pick whatever that height is. So terrain tools, flatten. So let's say that bit, and on this side I can just build it up so that it is up. Okay, well it doesn't quite want to do that. It will though. I know it will. I'll manage it. That bit is now starting to work. Let's get this bit in. It's just this little bit here. Oh, why? How am I going to fix this? Never mind that bit, I've forgotten to do this bit. Let's sort out this bit first. Wall. At this point, I might end up doing the other station off camera. Not that I intended to. That wasn't the point. The point was I was going to do it all on camera, but clearly this has taken a bit of a turn in terms of time, and I am limited on time today. Okay, this might work. I mean, it doesn't work. It really doesn't work. I can make it work. I can definitely make it work. So let's make it work. There? How does that look? Not the worst. Certainly not the worst. Not the best, but certainly not the worst. Okay. And then this bit, as I wanted to do, is all going to be flattened to that same height. So this bit all gets flattened to that same height. Can I do a hard flatten on this? No. Okay. All to that same height, and then you just get a little bit of smoothing just there. Tiny flatten. Same thing here. Just bring it up to that same height. I know it isn't perfect, but it will, unfortunately, will have to do. Just because of this area. Can I place a... No. I didn't type in 5. Floor. No. Ground? No. Texture? Yes. I'm just trying to find something, anything that could potentially help me here. So I can place this. I can place some stone or something. 10 meter, a few 10-meter tiles. Just so that it looks a little bit more in place. Because this looks very problematic, to say the least. So I'd need this to be in line with, let's say it's in line with that. Can I just use a 20-meter one? Because I can let it drop to there. Let's have it just below. See what that looks like. It could work. It could work. Well, I'm not entirely sold on that area. Nevertheless, for now, I'm just going to paint up some ballast as I normally do for this area, or for these areas. So there we go. Ballast paint goes in across everything, making everything look pretty much the same all the way around, which is good. I'll clean up the sides of these a little later. And there we are, like so. And I guess I can just smooth some of this out. Realistically, this bit is going to end up changing. I'm probably going to put some trees or things along there, but that looks much better. And just to finalize this area, let's put some more buildings in, to give it that little bit more of a used look. I wonder if I could place these buildings here to help. I could place this building right here. It might actually do what I wanted to do. That works. That definitely works. Can I place more? No. No, these bits, that ruins everything. So let's not do that. I can place a couple of these here. There we are, and I suppose I can stick one of these warehouses in as well. Just to give it more of a really strong, let's say a really strong industrial look. None of that needs to go there. And I think we are pretty good all the way along here. That will do. Smooth this bit out. There we go. And I'll deal with the rest of the mess at another time. But that gives us something. That's definitely given me something. Let's quickly try and get a few decent screenshots of the area. So let's see. One from about here looks reasonable. It isn't the greatest, but that's fine. So that one looks reasonable as a potential thumbnail for the video. I'll take another one from way down here, I think. Actually, I could take one from, yes, way down here. Might look interesting. Which actually it does. There we go. That could be another one. And perhaps one from this side. It definitely works. Is it Control Alt and Z for the camera mode? Yes, it is. For the camera manager. I'm not entirely certain that worked. Did it? No. That was weird. Get rid of the path. Oh, that definitely looks reasonable from this angle. Why are none of those things connected though? Hang on. What has happened here? How has this happened? Why has this happened? This was that height difference thing, wasn't it, that I pressed? Oh, great. There. Fixed. good. That was almost a moment of, oh no. There we are, that looks a little bit more reasonable. So we'll take that as well. That is probably all I really need to take. Let's try and find perhaps one more at 55 mil. That's not terrible either. Gives a good view into the station as well as Barnstable and the freight station too. So that's not too bad as well. And obviously if I somehow manage to fill all of this up, it will probably look quite nice in the end. Probably should have that at 35 mil. Thinking about it. Okay, good. Right, let me go ahead and save that as save those as Barnstaple goods yard. There we go. Right, so that is that bit done. Now I have very little time to go ahead and do the others, or the other bits. So let's just go ahead and fly all the way along to Maryport, and I can show you what I have done here. So obviously currently the freight goes into this tiny station here. What I'm doing instead is this. So it'll be going through like so. Now I am considering reworking this bit. Now of course we're going to have 4-track in and out of these stations, so this bit and this bit is going to have to change. That is why I've put the 4-track there, but this is where the station goes. It's quite easy. It's quite a simple setup. This isn't too far out from all the industrial buildings, so all I'm going to do here, unlike the other areas, this bit is, because this isn't a massive change, this bit is just going to be smoothed out. There isn't a huge change that needs to be done. So I'm just going to smooth this bit out like so. And you can see, you can barely tell. So that is where this station is going to go. And on top of that, I'm actually going to have a few, I think I'm going to park up a few trains just alongside here as a bit of a, it just looks a little bit nicer overall. So for now I'm just going to put, it doesn't matter what speed limits I'm putting for anything at present. See, those ones are 25. It's just a matter of getting these down, so laying the track down and knowing where things are. Then let's say this goes, so that will go out and across, so we'll have let's have a little bit of this. In fact, I'll do it like this, so there will be a bit more 4-track than, there'll be a bit more in the way of 4 tracks than I perhaps first envisaged. And then I'm going to do, let's say that, and I'll do the same on this side. Can I get a third one in there? I can. And a third in here. Fit that like that. And then just one that stops, or 2 that stop. Like so. There we go. Just a little bit of a, I'd say a shunting yard. It's not quite a depot, but just a little bit in the area. Right. Get rid of all of these, or everything that's in this area, clean that up, clean up this mess, clean up all the trees. There we go. Done. And now what I can do is, I've got an idea, is that can connect like that, as well as like this. And this one connects up. I'd say, could I get it to go across all of them? I could. Okay, if I really wanted to, I can have that go across the entire lot, which may not be such a bad idea. What kind of speed can I get for that? It doesn't seem to like that. Why do you not like that? There's something it specifically is not very happy with. What is it about that 4-track that it does not? It's just that bit there. So I could do that and it would be fine. Okay, let's just do that. Also, again, speeds can be sorted out later. Even for this one then, I'll do the same sort of thing. See if I can get it across. This one, it's happy to go as pretty far. In which case, I will give it that. It's just something about this one. It is not happy about that. Okay, so that is done. Then what I need to do is once again get the infrastructure for these bits built in. So for the road, similar sort of, I suppose a similar sort of thing would be fairly easy. Maybe make this one a little smaller, or perhaps have it. Should we have it sideways? Like, if I do it like that towards this end of it, I guess I could do that. Not sure. I'm not sure that is going to be the best option. No, I think this is the better option, and clearly I do need to do a little bit of terrain work. Let's do that, and I'll fix the rest once I've got this in. There we are. Right. Now, because of the size of this curve, things are going to be a little bit different there. Do that, click on that, set this to only connect. That should have that connected, which is good. Then I can do some of the smoothing. Well, actually, no. First build this road, then build a road curving like that, then have this do exactly that. That's exactly what I'm after. This bit is going to be a mess and will need changing. And where's there is a road. Oh, that's all the way out there. And that road is going to be on this side. So I suppose I can just continue that road like so. And then I can do some of this smoothing. Guess I could have a slightly sharper junction like that, and one that goes along like this. These are narrow roads. There we go. no harm in building a few bits and bobs. No. Along these lines. Up to there. Have this one perhaps connect out like that. Come on. And then curve through like so. In fact, things are already building. There we are. Now the question is, where does Maryport's fuel refinery go? Oh, maybe here. I can fit it in there. If I really, really wanted to, I can fit it in right there. It does mean that this road disappears, but that's okay. And this farm, I'm going to put it in right here. And the road that is behind it, I'm not really too fussed about. So I'm just going to, I'll fit it in and then work on it from there. Put it, where should I put it? Right opposite? I think right opposite is a pretty good idea. Yes, right click, because you are building that. That is at the height I want it to be. You can disappear, because I'm going to instead place you there. And then I suppose, can I place something around the right here? And how would that connect? Oh, that ruins this design. In fact, all of that ruins the design that I made. So I suppose I can just have this end. Sure, I could just have this end. Straight line just stops up there. Good. And guess what that is enough room for? Of course, it is going to be enough room for the, if I get this built up correctly and smoothed up correctly, that is going to be enough room for the oil gasometer, sorry. Hopefully. Please tell me that's enough room. Just. Where should we have it? Slap bang in the middle? Or off to, let's build it out here. There we go. And of course, because of the issues that we will face, some posts can go down in the form of trees. Where are they? There they are. Just to ensure nothing actually gets built around the gasometer. There. That works. Smooth this bit down. Perfectly smoothed. Smooth that bit out. Autosave, that is telling me that time is up. Yep, time is definitely up for today's video. However, to finish this off, I'm going to just paste, or I'm going to paint this area. So I'll get rid of that. I'll smooth this out, paint this area as ballast. And I'm sure I'll do a little bit more in the way of detailing off camera. But that is the final goods yard. Which is probably a good thing, because honestly, it was getting quite it was getting a little tedious. I will admit that there is a lot to do, and it takes a lot of time to do a lot of it. So you can imagine that it isn't quite the nicest thing to be constantly doing. But it has to be done. That's just how it works. So we'll paint this area up to there in ballast. Paint that area. I think this bit does not need to be ballast. This bit does. I think up to and along there. Do something along those lines. Good. And of course, finally, the bits that need to go in, those final adjustments. I suppose I could have a signal box right here. Somebody could work out here. Yes, that doesn't seem too far out of the way. You can see the station and all of these areas, so that seems logical. The general building, of course, needs to go in on this side. We'll make it a 10 building as well. Why not? That's probably a better building than that one, and that is a better building than both of them. Good. And let's go ahead and add some of those old industry buildings, just like I have been over on the other side in Barnstable. I'm sure I could place a few along here, for example, like that, and one there, a couple of these with chimneys, just to give it that industrial look. I think that works reasonably well. Probably need to do something in the middle here. I could theoretically open this up and have way more tracks, lots of sidings. That could potentially be something I could do. Not entirely certain. But as you can see, things are building. This is probably the worst styling this is the worst place you could build one of these. But things are building. So that is actually promising. For now, I'm going to end this. Why do I not have... There it is. I'm going to end this particular video. So thank you very much for watching. Please remember to click on the like button if you like this video. Subscribe to the channel for more videos on Transports Fever 2. The UK modded series, there is still a fair amount left to go. The next video is going to be episode 200. And I have some ideas as to what I can potentially do in it. So, yes, it might be a pretty long episode, but I'm not entirely certain yet. But I have some ideas, as I said, as to what I wish to do with it. And so it should turn out relatively well. But I suppose you'll have to find out. If you can do so, please do consider supporting me on Patreon. Link in the description box below, as are links to my social media and Discord server. That is all from me. This is now finally Maryport's station. That is the final goods yard that has been built. And I shall see you next time in Transports Fever 2, the UK modded series, for episode 200.